Welcome back to the Blue Collar Trade Show, where real people share real stories about building, fixing, leading, and living with purpose. I'm Troy, and I'm here with the crew, Chad, Jim, Marissa. Each week we dig into lessons, have laughs, and hard-won wisdom from the folks who keep America running. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Blue Collar Trade Show, everybody. We have Spencer Pope with us from Bradford White. And yay! So,
hey, Spencer, welcome.
You just jumped in and I made you, I'm throwing you to the wolves. We're in a very deep conversation before you came on about something dangerous and exciting and crazy, really, if you think about it. But how many monitors do you use on your computer?
Oh,
one, two? Chad had 4 once. Now he's down to 3.
Yeah. That is an inflammatory topic.
Yes, it's big time. Yeah, careful. There's people listening out there. Grandma might be watching.
1.5 million viewers right now.
And we're live.
So,
We're going to get real deep on this show today, Spencer, but this is where we need to start.
Okay, excellent. I'm 3 monitors. Does your laptop count? Like if it's docked,
yes.
But it's I guess
not if it's docked. If it's docked, it doesn't count.
I mean the screen is up, but yeah, three. I'm a 3 monitor guy.
Okay, there you go.
It sounds a little maximalist now that I say it out loud.
Yeah, kind of braggadocious.
That's what Chad is. Chad's a 3 guy.
Well, I guess I'm 2 because it's docked. I didn't know that was disqualifier.
So you're saying, okay, so Jim has 2, never leave. He travels with 2. That seems he brings extra luggage to bring another monitor.
That's
no, that's
off.
It's a little small. It is so
showing
small
off
and so light you wouldn't even notice it. Yeah.
What do you mean? The monitor?
The monitor is about the size of the screen of your laptop.
And it's just a monitor?
Incredibly light. Wow. Yeah, it's just a monitor.
Okay,
it's
so
awesome.
this I come from a place I've never had more than 1. I don't even know what this is like. This is a whole new world that I'm gonna have to explore. And I'm looking at I have a screen right now and a laptop that is folded down. And my laptop has a screen. I don't know.
Open it. Open it.
So then what?
That way you have
Does it automatically just work?
You got to go into it. I can't believe we're having.
You got to go into your settings and set it up. But yeah,
this is going to make you so much more efficient, man. No wonder it takes you so long sometimes.
Oh, you're no longer going to be working in the evening.
Is it
done by 2:00 every day?
I'm pretty efficient now, so I can't even imagine what this is going to do.
Yeah. Is it like I look way busier if I have more monitors type of a thing? It's not really efficiency. It's just, man, I'm a hard worker. See my 6 monitors.
Well, the reason I bring it up is these guys talk about it almost nonstop. But I did see
never mentioned it.
I did see I don't remember, like a stock trader, like an E-Trade commercial on TV, and the guy's sitting at his desk and he's got like a panel of monitors with all the cool, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. I wonder if anybody ever actually uses that. And then so I asked.
Well, it's not like I'm in the Matrix over here, but it definitely helps. It definitely helps me be more efficient, man.
You know? All right, but there's a setting I have to go to my computer to say I have 2 monitors.
It should see it.
It'll know you have 2 monitors,
and then you have the choice to extend the screen, or if you're a madman, you can duplicate the screen, so you got 2 of the same thing going on.
I don't want that. I never understood the point of that.
Yeah, just extend your damn screen so that you can extend how busy you are.
All right.
You won't even have to come to work, Troy. If you have 2 screens, it'll almost do it itself. You won't have to do anything.
It'll change your life.
Yeah.
I thought I just had to get like 5 computers and put them all on my desk.
No, man, the future's here. The future is here. Start using it.
I'm just kidding. All right, Mr. Spencer, thank you for playing along. We're excited that you're on. We've been waiting for you to come on to the show for weeks, if not months. And so tell us a little bit about you. So I saw you on LinkedIn, and we've been kind of digging into some of the details. I see a bunch of water heaters behind you. Are those real, or is this a AI image? That's a real thing?
Yep, that's really behind me here. That's not one of those green screen kind of things back there.
Okay.
I'm at the International Technical Excellence Center. It's our training center here in Middleville, Michigan, across the street from the factory. And normally I would join this type of thing from our live fire lab, but we have some customers visiting us today. So I am in the auditorium space. We've got some classroom seating just to my right, and then along the wall behind me, we've got some cutaway water heaters so they can see the insides.
That's very cool. That's
Very
very
cool.
cool. So tell us. I mean, let's just start with the cordials, right? So tell us where you were born and what you like to do for fun on Sundays.
Oh, sure. I was born and raised Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Very nice. So is Jim.
And that's Jim too. Grand Rapids.
Not Grand Rapids. I'm a Uper.
Ah, okay. Very nice.
But my dad was from.
How do you do it?
My dad was from Allegan.
What's the thing? What's the Michigan thing? I forget.
The two hands.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So my dad was from Allegan, which is by Kalamazoo. But yeah. So
small world. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, we're so I grew up in Grand Rapids, and when I got into the industry, I was running service work. I did commercial food equipment, refrigeration, and HVAC, and so we were greater Grand Rapids, sort of southwestern Michigan, you could say. We were as far down as St. Joe, the Indiana border, and we were north, sometimes up toward Cadillac, for those who know Michigan. And so, yeah, Grand Rapids area. And then what do I do for fun, you said, on the weekend?
On Sundays only.
Oh, boy.
Sunday.
Anything outside.
Really?
Kayaking, backpacking. We've got a German Shepherd, and he carries his own backpack. He's our backpacking companion. Mm-hmm. And I'm the proud owner of a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
All right.
So they keep me outside a lot.
Doesn't outside suck up there?
While we're on this topic,
what was that?
Doesn't outside suck up there for like 11 and a half months a year?
Yeah, pretty much. But man, that one month, oh,
and the flies, the damn flies.
I like how he owns them. That's I'm gonna start saying that to my kids. We're going on vacation, so I'm gonna tell them that.
Yeah.
I own it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So another very important question: do you like green or blue?
Whoa.
Oh. Historically it was blue, but my sister went green. She went to state. So yeah, I have to say I'm contractually obliged at this point to say green.
Okay, understand. All right.
Yep.
Very good. All right. Well, very cool. So how long have you been with Bradford White?
It has been, over 15 years now. It was 15 years as of January. I started back in 2011.
Holy moly.
I would say, so I've been in the plumbing business in some way, shape, or form for, 25 years. And water heaters are, water heaters to a certain extent to most people, right? But I have a personal affinity to Bradford White. They've always taken good care of me as a business owner and as a homeowner. I think it's the only water heater I've ever put in my home. So
that's
I like
excellent. That's great to hear. And
do you agree?
I'm certainly biased, but I'll say that one of the stories I'd tell as a technical trainer here is when I was in the field, I did HVAC. My background was not necessarily, I'm not a plumber. I just play one at work. And so when I would be in a particular home doing service work on an air conditioner, furnace, whatever it might be, and I got asked, well, hey, what water heater do you like? What I tended to see as a service contractor was that the Bradford Whites, I liked working on those. They're very straightforward. If they needed a repair, they tended to last longer. And then the other ones I liked, and this was back in the day now, more than 15 years ago. The ones I liked were Lochinvars. Yeah. And I didn't know it then, but when I got to Bradford White in that era, Bradford White was actually making the tanks for Lochinvar. And so that's my little anecdotal story that for me as a contractor in the field, the results translated to two different brands, but the same product looking better than the competition.
Yeah.
So that was something that resonated with me. There were a lot of reasons that I was drawn to Bradford White, but I thought that was interesting once I got here. And since then, Lochinvar has been acquired by one of our competitors, so we don't have a relationship with them now. But yeah, I always think that's an interesting story.
Well, I think it's interesting that I just now learned that it's Lochinvar and not Lochinvar. because that's what I've been calling it for 35 years. So that's interesting.
Well, it's you need another monitor. It's easier to see it when it's spelled out across those monitors.
I can see it. It's on my laptop over here.
There you go.
Okay, so do you know? I've always wanted to ask somebody this because I like this kind of thing, but you probably know. How was the first water heater invented?
The first water heater
Yeah, so
invented.
like a residential. How did it work? How did it come to be? Because because the pioneers obviously boiled water and then they all jumped into the bathtub one
Mhm,
after the next, right? Kind
mhm.
of disgusting, right? But so someone came up with the idea of, hey, let's just do this, right? So
Yeah.
walk us through that story. Do you know it?
I
If you
don't
don't
know.
know it, make it up.
I
What do you
thought you were
think it?
setting me up for like a joke or a punchline, but
No, there's no joke. I just want to know. And if you don't know, just make it up.
well, I can tell you Bradford White's history. I mean, we go back to 1881, so we've been at
Seriously.
it for over
Are
140
you
years at this
serious?
point.
From
Yeah,
what kind of energy did they use then?
it was so it depended on what product you're talking about. So when you go back to where we started, we originally were the Pennsylvania Range and Boiler Company. So looking at boilers, it was more of a coal-based type of thing. It eventually went
Hmm.
to a lot of oil product before things started to resemble what we see today, your natural gas, your electric, what have you. But yeah, over 140 years ago, we were making boilers. We were making a lot of unusual things that you wouldn't associate with Bradford White. We've got one of our presentations for customers that visit us. We talk about we made mooring bits. We made um, uh, different different components for large naval ships. We were one of the factories that the federal government, used during the World War II effort. So we've got
Oh, no.
quite an interesting history going back quite a ways, but I think our claim to fame is in the late 40s and the early 50s. We were one of the first manufacturers to put a glass lining inside of a water heating vessel. So that was 1951. We put our lining. It's called Vitroglass. It's our trade name for it. But
Vitra?
that was something unique and
Vitroglass?
interesting. Yep,
Yeah.
Vitroglass. Yep. Um, was putting that sort of porcelain enamel lining inside of a carbon steel tank to protect it from
Yep.
corrosion. So that's the history that I know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know who made the first water heater. I've seen some very interesting models in my travels across the country, training at different shops, different UA locals. I've seen some cast iron units that I presume are from the mid to late 1800s, but I don't know who has the trademark on it, like who came out with the first
So
one.
it's not like the Mr. Carrier who kind of invented air conditioning. We don't really know who invented a tanked water heater, right?
Right.
Yeah. Maybe nobody
Well,
knows. It's probably impossible to find
I
out.
have a primitive water heater that I use when I go camping, man, that I built up myself. Now I thought everybody had one, so maybe I'll patent that.
How is that? So is he hanging from a tree?
No,
Is that one?
no, I got a big bucket or like a drum, metal drum, and then I have a copper coil of going through it, like a 3/8 line copper coil, and catch we make a fire inside there and we send the water through it, and then we have hot water. Sometimes it's too hot.
I Spencer, I know you don't know us, but Chad talks about his camping trips like he's going to the Ritz-Carlton.
It is.
So he's got hot water.
It's a lot of
They
work.
have a movie theater.
Yep,
They have a movie theater there,
yep.
full
I don't.
kitchens. Yeah.
Yeah, his idea of camping
Hookers, I
is not
think.
what I
It's
picture
like the
for
Ritz.
camping.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, you say camping, and then you're hauling this metal barrel and this
Right.
copper heat exchanger apparatus out there. That's quite a sounds like you've built a boiler, a portable
It's
boiler.
kinda yeah, because sometimes it does boil your skin if you let it sit there for too long.
Okay, so but I guess where I'm going with the question of the history is because it's interesting when you think about a lot of things, right? There's how different is a water heater from the 1880s to today? I mean, so
Mhm.
fundamentally, I mean, they're fancier and they're cooler looking, but at the end of the day, the way they kind of heat the water and whatever, it's not that different, right?
Yeah, it's true.
It's just a
One of
question of
the
tank.
one of the visuals that I've used in my career is it's an image of it wouldn't be Chad camping because it seems like it'd be something much more complex that he would have, but it's a picture of a cast iron pot over a campfire, and it says how hard can it really be to heat water? I mean, essentially, a water heater is a big steel pot of water over a fire. And so, in some regards, you don't have that much complexity there. But you combine things like, unfortunately, there are some, we'll say, legislative constraints that go into making water heaters, of course. Sometimes there are very good, very useful safety constraints that go into making a water heater. And so those complexities start to stack up, along with just efficiency. Of course, most customers are looking for the most efficiency they can get. And so those are the things that start to make it look a little less like a pot over a fire. And so a modern heater today, you've got things like a baffle through the center flue tube that's going to affect how well does it transfer heat.
Yep.
You've got considerations like different materials for your heat exchangers. If you've got a condensing efficiency water heater, have you built the heat exchanger to handle the side effects of condensing? That acidic condensate will eat your flue tube, eat your baffle, eat your burner unless you built it accordingly. So that's where things start to get a little bit more complex.
Yeah, they're pretty. I picked up on a couple of things that you didn't mean to say. You want me to share those with you?
Yeah.
That you said that there are safety things that have come on that are good ideas, and then you said regulatory has sometimes had good reasons.
Sometimes.
Which means you don't necessarily agree. So
I agree with all of them.
So between us, what kind of regulations have come into this industry, which there are many, right? And we've been in it. You just kind of scratch your head and go, I can't explain it.
I'll give you an example from 2015. In April of 2015, the federal government, the DOE, they passed their latest version of the NACA Act, the National Appliance Energy Conservation Act. And under the NACA Act, what they said at that time was that residential electric water heaters, all of us manufacturers, if we're making a residential electric water heater, if it was more than 55 gallons in capacity, it had to be more than 100% efficient.
More than 100%.
More than 100%.
Yeah. And I'll just let that hang for a second. Like that's
How many of those did you sell?
Well, that's the, so I mean, where do you even start with something like that? Where do you unpack that? And I'll ask you guys, could you wager a guess on if you were to look at a standard residential electric water heater? So that's your water heater where you've got two elements in it, two heating elements.
Yeah.
They don't run at the same time. So really you're running one element at once, non-simultaneous. How efficient would you say a standard residential electric water heater is?
It's 100%.
Very, very efficient.
Final answer?
That's my final answer.
Troy, you doing Prices Right rules?
I think 101 is as high as you can get. Jim tells me he's giving me 110% effort all the time, but I don't believe it. So.
See, that sounds like government measurement right there.
Well, I'm retired military,
Navy, so
yeah.
There you go. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, they're about 98% efficient, and of course, the reason is because the heating source is submerged in the water. You don't have heat loss through a flue tube. You don't have heat loss migrating from a heating chamber where maybe a burner would be on a gas water heater. And so if you could say, all right, we've taken a technology that is already 98% efficient, we want to put pressure on it, how do you answer that challenge? And so that's why heat pump water heaters or hybrid water heaters came on the scene. And hybrid water heaters, by the way that we're allowed to rate them, they are technically more than 100% efficient. In fact, they're 340% efficient. Our previous generation, our new generation, is about 410% efficient.
Don't get any ideas, Jim. You're never going to be there.
I was going to say, I always just said 110, Troy, but I'm rethinking that.
400?
Yep.
We've been sandbagging this whole time, man.
That's right. I think I'm a hybrid water heater kind of guy.
There you go.
Funny.
But, it's something that...
But what does that mean? What does that mean for them to say it's 400% effective?
Coefficient.
Well, and that's a great question. That's the real question that you'd ask. I mean, why would I, the consumer, why would I, the homeowner, spend the money, pursue the heat pump water heater? And the real world answer is that when you run these type of water heaters, they are extremely efficient in the sense that For every watt of electricity that you pay for, you're getting about 4 watts of heating put into your water. So that's where the 400% comes from. Now, if we want to extend that out, we could say what you're doing is you're moving heat from the ambient air around the heater into the water. And so you are paying to condition that space if the water heater's in a basement, if it's on the main floor. Sort of a bonus if you live in a market where the water heater is installed in the garage or if it's in an attic, then I would say you are getting the free energy of moving the heat from the air into the water. But that's the real world application of these things, or that's how it works in the real world. And to sort of compare and contrast, for those who are energy conscious and for those who would like to have as efficient a water heater as they can, if you were to look at a 99% efficient tankless natural gas water heater, I'm sure you guys, those are one of those products that people say like, oh, they're very efficient, they're wonderful, they're never ending hot water, and so you'd say, well, those are certainly very high on the efficiency scale. If you look at the estimated annual cost to run one of those units, you're looking at somewhere around $200. If you compare that to a residential heat pump water heater, where in most markets, the cost per unit of electricity versus cost per unit of natural gas is actually higher, what you're looking at is about $120 is the estimated annual usage for that heat pump electric water heater. And so again, that's where I think the rubber hits the road for the customer. You're looking at a significant savings, a very low energy cost of about 120, depending on which model you go with. That varies a little bit, but $120 to $150 a year to run your water heater starts to look really good. And so that's where the heat pump is definitely a winner. But yeah, kind of funny to be able to say that it's more than 100% efficient.
Yeah, because then it would be paying you back, right? So.
Yep.
So that's
Tell
why
me, what do you?
that's why those 80-gallon water heaters, that electric water heaters that are not heat pumps, that's why they're usually tied into a solar aspect so that they can achieve that efficiency. Or are those all pre-2015 as well?
Those would likely be
Okay.
pre-2015. Sort of depends. It depends on the market. We haven't, Bradford White was in the solar space for a little while. We are not today. I'm a bit surprised that we haven't seen that segment grow more, but it's pretty isolated to specific markets. Southern California, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, those are the markets we tend to see solar stuff.
Yeah. What are your views on? So this is in different climates. So I grew up in the state of Minnesota, and hard water was an issue, right? So it's less. I live in Austin, Texas now, and it's less so here. Still some, but but I'm a believer in water softeners, and I've always been told that they help maintain the life of a water heater. Is that true or not true?
Yep. It's true with a caveat, with an asterisk.
Of course there is.
Of course there's always something, right?
Better. Yeah.
Spencer, are you sure you're not in the government?
Yeah. He's the mayor
You got
of
caveats and exceptions, and
I missed my calling
here.
as a politician. Is that what you're trying to say?
It's one straight question.
Answer. Yes, overall, a softener is great for the water heater, great for the piping, great for your fixtures. Specifically, a softener can have an effect on the anode rod. And the anode rod is a sacrificial component that all storage style water heaters are going to have from us and other manufacturers. And the anode is designed to break down over time. And the way to think of it is aggressive elements in the water that would normally be attacking the storage vessel are attacking the anode instead. And this is a topic that when we train on it, I mean, we can spend almost 2 hours talking about anodes and how they work and what they're doing. But the general idea is that it's based on electrolysis, and electrolysis is removing some electrons. And another way to say that is, if I go jam my finger into an outlet here in this room, I will have electrons flowing through me. So you could say moving electrons is generating electricity. It's an electrical process. And when you involve a softener, softeners tend to recharge with salt. They tend to put a very little bit of salt residue into your water, and they tend to make your water more conductive. More conductivity means the anode can be much more active. It can wear down sooner. And once it's gone, you've lost the protection for your water heater. So where the softener protects your heater from scale, lime scale, calcium buildup, protects your piping and your fixtures, the softener also accelerates wear on the anode. And when the anode is gone, the life of your heater is potentially shorter. So long answer short, short
Chet
answer
is very
long.
passionate about anode rods.
It's an important topic because it's the number one thing that's protecting your heater and potentially expanding its life. And it's also the number one thing that I can tell you as a service contractor. I never touched them. I never changed them. I don't know if what you guys' experience has been, but
should you?
Who's Brad?
Like I'll ask you guys. Show of hands, how many of you?
Well, I'll answer the question with a question. So, well, in a visual, Chad, show him your muscles.
My muscles.
Yeah, show him your arm. So he's pretty big guy. He can't take an anode rod out of a water heater.
What a stupid thing to say. So Troy was visiting, and there was one water heater out back. He's like, take that out.
One water heater.
And I could not get it out for the life of it. It was empty, and it's spinning around. The water heater was 400 years old, okay?
Yeah.
So it was installed by Jesus and Moses. They put their name inside of it. So let me ask you this. Whose bright idea was it to take the anode rod from somewhere that it was easily accessible to putting it right underneath the inlet? So now it's a whole nother job to replace the anode.
Oh, that's a great question. And there's no good answer for that. I mean, there is a technical one, back to my my role as a politician.
As a mayor?
I was going to say,
I'll tell you, when I was in the field.
I don't have the answer to that. I'll have my aide get back to
you. Yes. We'll submit a report and we'll be in touch. When I was in the field, that was one of the biggest things I disliked about Bradford White water heaters was the anode rod is combined with the hot outlet nipple.
Yeah.
Now that I'm involved with Bradford White, the reason Bradford White does it is on the manufacturing side, we are avoiding extra holes in the water vessel. When you think from a manufacturing environment perspective, the fact that if you move the anode to its own port, you've introduced a new penetration to the vessel, you've introduced a potential failure point of a new weld where you have to weld the thread on, and you have a second, or technically that's a third, threaded water connection up on the top. So you've sort of added a triple threat of the potential for leaks for the customer. So the goal from a quality perspective was make as few holes in the water vessel as we can to start with, and then we avoid issues with the weld, we avoid issues with the threads. But Spencer, all that said, again, that's the manufacturing answer.
That's all BS. You know it. I know it.
Well,
Jim knows it.
Kinda...
You know, Chad, you know
find
why?
Find a better welder.
The whole reason is because they want them to fail. Right. What are you talking about?
They're okay with anode rods water heaters.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want to make it too easy to make this thing last longer. Right. They had to put the anode rod in, but they don't want the anode rod in it.
Well, mission accomplished because nobody's changing those.
that was the goal. Is we could say we want you to change it, but it's impossible.
Yeah.
Now, that touches on an interesting topic because the other reason it's fun to talk about anodes is
it is fun.
There are different materials with anode rods. You've got magnesium, you've got plain aluminum, and you have an aluminum alloy. And all of us different manufacturers have different names for the alloy version, but the different metals represent different levels of protection. And Bradford White historically has defaulted to the most protective anode, which is the magnesium. Some of our competition depends on how they're doing it, depends on if they're doing quality tiers. Some of them do tiers. Some of them offer different versions for different, like a contractor or residential audience. But for our heaters, we default as often as possible to the magnesium, which is best protection. But interestingly, magnesium anode rods also contribute the most to rotten egg smell. So I don't know if you guys have dealt with the rotten egg smell or maybe even sputtering on the hot water side. But there's some complexities.
Just at Chad's campsite. Everywhere else is fine.
Everywhere else is good. You guys ever? I've actually there's a couple of campgrounds that I went to as a kid that were definitely not Ritz-Carlton campgrounds, and these places had the worst sulfur, rotten egg water. Like nasty stuff.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't know that was I always thought that was iron that you smell. Is that
Sulfur, I thought, yeah.
It's
yeah,
sulfur. Yep, it's
it's a
actually
sulfur, huh?
sulfates in the water. Yeah.
So so if I walk up and down the aisles at Home Depot, I see a Rheem water heater. If I go to Lowe's, I see A.O. Smith. Has Bradford White just decided to not get into the big box stores, or are they in a big box store that I don't know about?
Nope, we're not in the big box stores.
Congratulations.
That's our claim to fame. We're wholesale only.
Yeah.
And it's challenging, but it's been very rewarding for us as a
Yeah.
company. When we went employee owned in 1992, 92 or 93, um, they laughed at us. They said, "You guys will go straight out of business if you limit the channels where you sell to strictly wholesale."
Mhm.
And of course, the opposite has happened. Water heaters, there's a big three. It's us, AO, Ream. You mentioned the other guys. See, we're comfortable enough. We can cuss at each other. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So there's a big three in water heaters. And, what the US looks like today is about just north of 50% of water heaters are actually sold through retail. And so even though we are in a slightly minority portion of the market, we're doing excellent. And I think it's because of the reasons that I was attracted to Bradford White as a service tech. And that's, we manufacture them right here in Middleville. We're employee owned. We all take ownership in what we do here, and they're made in the heartland. So we joked about quality and welding and all that, but that's our claim to fame. And I mean, our bread and butter is making steel vessels. It's something we take extremely seriously. And I'm very passionate about the quality that we put into our tanks and our manufacturing processes. So yeah, you won't see us in big box stores.
Good for you guys. Well, I'll give you an interesting take from the field, from the customer base, right here on the front lines. I've actually
Hmm.
had customers say, "What type of water heater do you sell?" And then we always ask, "What type do you want?" And uh, well, I don't want anything that I can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot. And then we go
Oh, excellent.
we go to Bradford White, and then they look that up, and you guys represent yourself well online, and they end up being very happy with that selection. So, and the price point's
Oh,
there
that's
too.
great.
So good for you guys for staying out of
yeah.
the big box stores.
I noticed that you say vessel a lot. Is that a company term?
Oh, good question.
Thanks.
I'm probably just conditioned to it at this point. We when you go to our factory and you see all the things that we manufacture, I mean, we
Yeah,
make the vessels, but we're making jackets, we're making burners, we're making baffles, and so I think it just becomes a way to differentiate which
I
which
like
hunk of the metal that we made I'm talking about.
the vessel. There's stories of the vessel um, when the pressure relief valve.
Hmm.
You ever hear those? And we've seen it actually happen. So I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe there was I don't think it was Bradford White. I hope it is. And that would be embarrassing. But where the pressure relief valve got so bad that the water heater overheated from a basement in South St. Paul, Minnesota, literally shot a rocket through the basement, the first floor, second floor, and through the roof and
Yeah,
like out onto the street, like a mile away. That
that's
happens
The
sometimes.
vest,
Those are the
in
stories that we use to tell them to check their pressure relief valve. But
wow,
in our classes we play Mythbusters did that.
yeah,
They plugged a TMP and it was not
I
on one of
didn't
our,
believe it on
thankfully.
that show that it could happen. It's crazy though.
yeah,
Yeah.
They built the video that we shared. They built a, like you said, they had a first floor. They put the heater in the basement. The basement. They put a floor over it. They put a roof, like the actual trusses and shingles and everything, and the water
Yeah.
heater blew straight through. I think their working theory was whether it would blow through the first floor, and it did blow right through the roof. Just blew through it. And
wow.
That's crazy.
in their video, it built up so much energy, it cracked the cinder block foundation under their little
Oh,
structure they built. So
Yeah.
it's legitimate. Thankfully I've never seen that in my time in the field. When I was in tech support, so like when I started, I Bradford White. Another thing that we were pretty proud of is we went to 24/7 technical support based right here in Middleville, and so I was one of the first off shifters that came on board, and I was originally 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I flew solo and covered the entire North American continent. And you want to talk about culture shock of I'm used to what I see in my market here in Southwest Michigan, and to expand that view And I'm taking calls from Hawaii. I'm taking calls from Canada. I'm taking calls from an island off the coast of Maine that has nor'easters that hit them, and they want to know how do we block the venting from certain force winds, and so I've seen a lot of very unusual, very interesting situations with water heaters, but thankfully, I've never taken a call on a vessel that overpressurized like that. See, there I said it again, vessel on a water heater that
I gotta think about it
overpressurized.
every single time you say
Every
that.
time it comes up, yeah. Yeah, thankfully I haven't taken that call, but I have seen pictures. I've seen inspectors sending pictures
That's
of
crazy.
like apartment maintenance techs that plug it, and yeah, it's nuts.
It happens. Yeah. All right. So that's interesting spin. So you took calls from customers. What's the most memorable when you sit around and drink a beer with your buddies? What's the funniest call you've ever gotten about a water heater?
Oh man, um, there are a lot. Um, I think one that stands out is the caller. They didn't even try to like paint a picture, spin a yarn. They were just like, "Hey, I think I know the answer to this, but will the warranty cover a rifle hole through the water heater?" The guy was cleaning his I don't know, his 30-06 or something,
Oh man.
and touched it off and shot a hole through the water heater.
Nice.
And he called us to see if it was under warranty. Like, would you guys cover that? It's like, I mean, I don't think we call out your situation specifically, but we say manufacturer defect, and I don't think that qualifies as
No.
manufacturer defect.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Nuclear war. No, that doesn't. Oh, that's crazy. Okay. So here's a question.
I have a question.
As mayor of Grand Rapids, here's what I want you to take to your city council. Stop. Maybe you don't, it probably doesn't happen very often up there, but it happens all the time down here. Why did they put water heaters in attics? Is that because they like floods through ceilings, or what is it? Who invented that idea?
Right. Yeah.
I don't. We don't do that in our market. All of our water heaters are in the basement.
Yeah.
But I see that Texas is a big one where
Florida,
I know they're in the attic.
Florida too, man.
Florida, yeah.
It's crazy.
So what is it? Because they think that it needs gravity, so it just needs to be on top, or there's got to be a reason, because it makes no sense.
Gravity. So
So that's why they do it. I read a thing. The reason most contractors do it is that way when the valve gets blocked, it only blows through one story instead of three.
Hey, there you go.
That's what I
There
heard.
you replace a roof, not the whole house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you do the math, if you got a 50-gallon water heater up there, what's that? 400 pounds plus the water tank, the vessel. Probably looking like 600 pounds. Laser focused on an area this big on your trusses.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. There was a news article out of Houston where a water heater came through the ceiling and landed on a kid's bed during the day. Thankfully, nobody was in the bed. But I don't know why that was why anybody thought that was a good decision.
Yeah.
Maybe the free heat up there. I don't know. You don't have to run the burners often.
Because ultimately, every water heater is going to fail, right? And every one of them will fail with the indication showing you what? 99% of the time, at least probably 90% of the time.
I mean, it's going to present as a leak. Yeah.
And so it's a guaranteed leak, and let's stick it in the worst possible place we can imagine.
Right.
It just, and it can't be any easier to load something up there than it is to stick it in the garage. I don't know. It's just, it's mind boggling. I have mine in my garage, but I don't.
So let me ask you this: it
wasn't Spencer's idea, I guess. That's where I was going.
I don't think it was the water heater industry's idea at all. I think it was I think Jim's right. One contractor saw that video. He's like, "Oh, put him in the attic." So tankless came on the scene a while back, and they've become pretty popular. And when it comes to electric, because there's a lot of areas in the country that there is no gas, right? We don't have gas here in Florida, hardly at all. And we take a lot of calls like, "Hey, I want to convert over to tankless electric," right? And since nobody ever believes me on the show, why don't you tell people what the trade-off is for tankless when it comes to electric?
The limitation you're going to have there is you won't have the space in your service to run it. I mean, as we touched, electric is 100% efficient. Your heat source is submerged in the water, but the usage, the recovery tends to outpace electric unless you have a massive space available in your panel.
Yeah.
So that tends to be the constraint. I don't think that electric tankless is a reality for residential applications. It's certainly good for point of use in commercial spaces, restrooms, restaurants, stadiums. I see a lot of electric tankless point of use product in those spaces. And then for your certain commercial applications where they do have the electrical service available, sure, if you can pull the kind of amperage, you know, 80, 100 amps to run your tankless electric,
Yeah.
then it's great. But yeah, it's just a constraint as far as the energy that it pulls.
Yeah, I mean, my tankless in my house is a pretty decent sized residential. I think it's 24 kW, and
Hmm.
it's one guy can take a shower for the rest of his life and never run out of hot water. Right, two people, you pretty good, but once third person jumps in the shower, ain't nobody getting a hot shower. You know,
Hmm.
so yeah, a little bit
Hmm.
of a trade off there. I mean, you have the electrical limitations. So a lot of customers are pretty disappointed to find out that they really wouldn't be happy with a electric tankless water heater.
Well, you would just do what Jim does. If you're all in the same shower, then it works fine.
Right. Yeah, I don't understand why
Why
there's
is that a
3 different
problem?
people showering.
Yeah, who wants to shower
Yeah,
by
and
themselves? That seems
We're
weird.
not in the Navy anymore, Jim. We're right here.
You should.
We're
Maybe you and your wife need to go to counseling, Chad. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Chad.
what voltage is you said 24 kW?
yeah, 240 volt.
You know what voltage it is? It's a 240.
Yeah, 240.
So I mean, right there, you're pulling 100
Yep.
amps. If that thing is full bore 24 kW,
Yep.
it's 100 amps. And then NEC usually says National Electric Code says you've got to oversize your circuit by 25%. So yeah, I mean that's
360 amp
that's not
circuits.
an insignificant. What's that?
360 amp circuits feed this tankless.
Yahoo!
Yeah,
That's
a lot of juice, man.
yeah,
A lot of juice.
for sure.
Wow.
What do you think? So I was just trying to think of appliances. When you think about really every appliance in our home, is there anything that's more overlooked than a water heater?
Overlooked in what way? Like as far as
Just
maintenance?
people don't even know. Some people don't even know where it is, right?
Yeah.
It's in the attic.
What kind of water heater do you have? I don't know. I've never seen it, right?
Air
Yeah.
handlers. I think the same thing with air handlers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they think those are Honeywells. At least there's a button.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
I don't know. Water
Mhm.
heaters. It's kind of like a redheaded stepchild. Everybody wants it, and they don't even know how it works.
well, it's a weird thing,
yeah.
right?
But they know when it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, they know when it
Yeah.
doesn't. That's for sure. Yeah.
It's the water heaters and the air conditioners. Like people just neglect. But as soon as that dishwasher leaves one dish wet, oh, I need a new dishwasher, and then they get a new dishwasher and they play with it. It looks cool and everything. But yeah, the water heater and the air conditioners, man, they don't get no love.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, we were talking about anodes earlier, and I was going to ask, like, do you tend to do maintenance on your water heaters?
So there's flushes and different things like that we do for our customers, right? How
Mhm.
important is that? Do you think?
Oh,
Routine.
it's certainly important. And like, so how often do you think that comes up, like in your market? Usually I'll ask if we're running a training class, I'll ask, hey, how many of you really get calls from your customer base to do maintenance? And you'll see any given group of 20, 2, maybe
Yeah.
3 hands go up. Like,
Right.
well, what's your experience in your market? Is it sort of the same? It's a minority, or is it more than that?
No, same for as far as people calling in and saying, I want my water heater maintained. It's very,
Mhm.
very few.
Never.
You
Yeah.
have to give them, they need to
Mhm.
be educated in order to get them to move forward with something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And sometimes it's where you get there and the water heater is too old. Like, that if you go to flush that thing, you're going to have a
Yeah.
problem, or that if you try to take that anode rod out, of the water heater that Troy had me out there bear hugging and rolling around in the back alley with the other day, that you're just going to create a problem.
You know what? I bet you didn't have channel locks. They would have popped right off with channel locks.
I had an
Just
impact gun.
he's using his tile saw. So so if a homeowner, so if you had to give some advice to a homeowner, if they're like, tell me, if I go look at my water heater, how do I know what condition it's in if it's just sitting there? Because they can't even tell if it's on. It just sits there, right? So
Well,
what are some indications that it might be time, even if
that's the unfortunate thing is with a water heater, there aren't really a lot of signs that it is time. Sometimes you can tell because you're running out of hot water sooner. So if we're not talking tankless, if we're talking a storage style water heater, if there's a lot of sediment in the bottom, if sediment has reached a lower element, or if it's just piled up in the bottom of a gas so that the burner can't transfer heat as efficiently,
Yep.
sometimes it shows up as it seems like we run out of hot water more
Yeah.
often than we did before. Sometimes it shows up as a coloration in the hot water, and typically what that is the anode rod has been eaten down to the core wire. So you picture the anode is just a metal rod, but running through the very center of it, you've got a steel core wire. And so once the rod is eaten down far enough, that core wire is exposed. It colors the water sort of a rusty brown, kind of sometimes yellow looking tint.
Hmm.
And changing the anode rod will take care of that particular situation. But those are about the only things that might present themselves other than what you said. It just shows up as a leak, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It wasn't maintained, it runs its life, and the next thing you know is there's a leak there. So there's not a lot visually that you could glance at a water heater and say, oh yeah, I can tell this thing needs attention.
So
what
so
what's
what's your suggestion as far as how often should it be serviced? How often? I mean, because I know a lot of people, most people don't even think about it, like Troy said, they never think of their water heater.
Hmm.
Some people, they have maintenance agreements for their air conditioning, which is
Yep.
great, but very seldom do they have them for the water heater. So what's the recommendation as far as maintenance for the water heater?
What we say is the anode being one of the most important components of a maintenance visit. Probably the second most important is draining or flushing the heater. What we say is to check your anode rod after the first 2 years, and that will help you determine a service interval. Because, of course, you mentioned in Minnesota, you've got harder water. For us in Southwest Michigan, we're about 23 grains hard. We've got hard water here. And so that, along with other variables in the water quality, are going to affect your duration. And so if you check the anode after the first 2 years, maybe you say, hey, 2 years looks like a decent interval. This anode is fairly eaten up. I'll stick a new one in there and then let's commit to 2 years. As far as flushing and draining, our literature says that, and this was an attempt to try and make it more accessible and get the homeowner engaged a little bit. What I was used to in the field was once a year, and what our literature says today is once a month.
Whoa.
Hey, homeowner, go to the water heater. You don't have to turn anything off. Open the drain valve and flush a few gallons out of the heater. And if you do that monthly, trying to keep it front of mind. But otherwise, annually, if we're draining, flushing, inspecting the burner area, cleaning it, cleaning the fresh air intake, it's called the FVIR, the flammable vapor ignition resistant system. All of us manufacturers have that, and there's a good example of likely a good safety feature for certain markets.
Yeah.
Probably not necessary for every market, but that was something that was legislated onto water heaters in July of 2003. And that's a nuisance component where all modern heaters have to have an enclosed chamber. They have to control the way fresh air comes in so that if a flammable vapor rides in,
Mhm.
they also have to have a safety that can shut down the system. And then whatever this component is that controls the flow of air doesn't let the flame travel back out of the chamber back toward whatever the source was. And so all of those things tend to be an annual type of deal. And then anodes is every other year, depending on your water. I know I've personally worked on water heaters where seems like 4 years is a better interval. I would venture to say that 4 or 5 years is about the longest you could stretch an anode rod. So if we have somebody who's looking to do the bare minimum, maybe go out to 4 years, change your anode. but probably best practice is once a year, draining, flushing, cleaning up the burner area, blowing out that intake screen, and maybe inspecting the anode right there. Otherwise, doing that every 2 years.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
You
always
should
thought it
put a
was
little.
weird that it took till 2003 for them to put in that combustion air rule, whatever you called it
Mm-hmm.
there. Because I remember
Yep.
going out in my early years, lighting pilot lights and stuff and taking that little cover off, and there's the flame right there. And then over there is gasoline and lawnmowers and everything else in the garage. And I'm like, this doesn't seem safe. You need to get that stuff out of here. And they're like, yeah, that's a good point. But but it was
We'll consider that.
going on for years, and it took until the 21st century for us to go, that's not safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like definitely certain markets, it's necessary.
Yeah.
And then in other markets, for us in Michigan, all of the water heaters are in the basement. We don't really have a risk of flammable vapors near the heater. But if it's in a garage, totally understandable. I would imagine for those who have them in the attic, probably not a high risk of,
Right.
of flammable vapor. But then again, maybe maybe the local government will mandate they stick the mower up there too, just out of convenience, right? I mean,
So if you did maintain it the way you suggest, what's the standard expectation lifetime? Like 10 years, 12 years, 20 years? What
Right.
would you say?
Right around 10 to 12, you hit it on the head. What we've looked at is AHRI, the Air Conditioning, Heating, Refrigeration Institute. They've got some data across all of us manufacturers across US and Canada, and the numbers stack up to right around 9 to 11 years for residential gas water heaters, and it gets a little longer. It's about 10 to 13 years for residential electric water heaters.
Okay.
So anywhere 9 to 13.
And they're all at the end of the day. So Bradford White, Ream, who would you say is second best? Ream or A.O. Smith or others?
That is a great question. It depends a little bit on the space, commercial versus residential.
Caveat. Here comes the caveat.
Well, I would say if you're looking at size, it's A.O. Smith. I mean, I know they're huge, but I think Ream's made some really interesting innovation on the commercial side. So I would be inclined right now to say Ream is a number 2, I think, to us.
On the residential side? Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say as somebody who came out of the field, I do respect and acknowledge like they've got some great innovation, some great technology that they're putting out. I would stand behind Bradford White's quality above theirs all day long, but I certainly recognize that they've got some good stuff coming down the pipeline too.
Okay. Very good.
Nice.
All right. Well, let's do the last round of questions for Mr. Spencer. Jim?
Well, I'm going to fill in for one of our other hosts that's usually here, and she likes to ask a question of everybody that comes on the show. You heard us joking earlier about tools. Chad's favorite tool is a tile saw.
Wet tile
He
saw.
carries it everywhere.
Wet tile
A
saw.
wet tile saw. Sorry, wet tile saw.
Doesn't
My
leave home
favorite
without it. He
tools
goes on
are
his
channel
camping
locks.
trips. Yeah.
Because you can do just about anything with a pair of channel locks.
Anode rods.
So we're asking you, what's your favorite tool?
No caveats here. It's a multi-bit screwdriver. I love those things. I live and die by. I carried a Klein when I was in the field, and these days, the big red brand has overtaken the world.
Yeah.
So today, my multi-bit is a Milwaukee, but yeah, I love a multi-bit screwdriver.
There you go. Very good.
Chad doesn't agree. You don't like that, or what?
I hate them. I hate them, and I hate when my guys have 'em.
Really?
Yeah, I
hate them.
Let me tell you why. Not because of because they are functional. So don't get me wrong, and I'm not crapping in your hat, Spencer. It's just when those came on the scene, all of a sudden, the nice tool bag going to the door with the guys up to the customer's house knocking on the door, that went away. Now all they do is they put all their crap in their pocket because they have that damn multi screwdriver in there that can handle anything, and then they just walk up to the door with nothing in their hand. And I never liked that. I never liked that image. So
Fair.
I tell my guys that they're allowed to take those on roofs because that makes sense. You're climbing up a ladder. But when you go to the door, have some tools, man. You know?
Look like a professional.
Yeah.
You're missing the perfect one-liner for the technicians that they obviously, if they're not saying it, they're thinking it. When the homeowner says, "Where are your tools?" and he said, "All the tools I need are in my pocket." That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Imagine a guy saying that. And he's like creepy about it. And then the lady's like, no thanks.
Just creepy about it.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
You can't be creepy about it. Then it's weird.
All right. So
How come you had to go creepy on us, Chad? You had to go there.
Yeah.
I'm not the one that I guess I just
He
talk. I
just
just
has one tool in his pocket.
Yeah.
That's his point.
Oh,
and then they poke holes in the guys' pocket and then they need new uniforms and stuff. It's just I hate them. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I've lived that Star Wars, the hole in the back pocket
Yeah.
from sticking the driver back there.
right,
Yeah,
right.
that's
All right. So we've had but this is my question. So we've had cauldrons of water over wood burning. That's the first water heater, I guess. There's been the tank water heaters, my water heater that I make at my camp that I'm going to patent, I guess. We've moved on to tankless. We've had the heat pump hybrids. What else is next? What do you think is next? Is that it?
Ooh.
Is that all we can do as human beings is tankless and hybrids? Or is there something else?
the next phase looks like gas tankless that can handle scale a little bit better. When you look at any tankless, really electric or gas, but being that most of the tankless market you're dealing with gas, scale tends to be the number one killer for that product.
Okay.
And I can attest to that. I have a gas tankless at my house, and harder water. So it's something that it needs some attention, needs some descaling. I usually like to say about tankless, like a tankless water heater is like a Porsche. It's great until it breaks. And once it breaks, needs a lot of attention, sometimes needs some special parts. And so I think that some innovation in that space would be wonderful. That's something that Bradford White's working on. We've got some products coming down the pipeline. And there's a rule in the water heating industry that got bumped out, the enforcement of this rule. So October of this year, the DOE was going to enforce changes that said that in the commercial side of things, essentially standing pilot or natural draft commercial gas water heaters would go away by these standards. And they were enforcing efficiency that pretty much would move every customer that has a commercial water heater to condensing technology. And so there's some innovation to be had in that space. We've got some forthcoming product that is exploring how do you get heat pump or tankless levels of efficiency out of commercial product and still maintain quality, longevity, all those things. Of course, as you add efficiency, just like as you add safety or legislative constraints, you add complexity, you add the potential for things to go wrong. And so it's incumbent on us to make sure that those products are robust and can live a long life. But I think those are the places the water heaters are headed next.
What is that efficiency of the AFUE on a natural draft water heater, a natural gas, natural draft? That's 70%.
Those are hovering right around 70%. Sometimes as you build up sediment and crud, you're degrading down into the upper 60s, most likely.
But
yeah,
70% on a
atmospherically
brand new one.
product.
Yeah, that's as opposed to
Yep.
a tankless that would be 98% condensing.
Yep,
efficiency. It's a
exactly.
big step up, and a lot of the country, a lot of our listeners out of 1.5 million have natural gas because they live where it's available, so they should be taking that into consideration. And nobody listens to
Yeah.
me, so I'm glad that you were here today to tell them that.
He's not listening to you either.
I'm
All right, so
listening intently.
I'm gonna shift gears just real quick. So the trades, you've been in the trades for a long time, most of your career, if not all of it, it sounds like, right?
Yep.
So we, what advice would you give somebody that's kind of coming out of high school, maybe sitting in college going, I don't know, right? What am I gonna do? Right. So you talk to people all the time. So what direction would you give them? Tell us your experience in the trades and what it did for you.
Oh man. I originally I got into the trades because I just needed to make a buck. I was going to the local community college and I was going for my heating cooling certificate, but I needed to make money. And for dumb 19-year-old things, I wanted to go on more dates, which turns out money wasn't the problem there. But um, it's interesting because in today's climate with rising educational costs, with the threat of AI replacing a lot of the more white collar jobs that you go to
Mm-hmm.
college for, I think today more than ever, that's a sign that the trades is a great place to focus to head. And I think the hardest part today probably is getting your foot in that door and finding some good vocational training. I know that vocational training, especially like at the middle school or high school level, as I grew up, that stuff started to get replaced, and the focus tended to be like, hey, go into nursing or go into some of these other white collar
Yeah.
fields, being a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever. But I think getting plugged into a vocational training program locally, and if there's an apprenticeship program, if it's through the union, through the UA, any avenue that you can pursue that vocational training and get out there and turn a wrench. What I loved about being in the field was you've got the corner office and the window office.
Yeah.
You're driving your truck around, and when we host classes here, we always wrap up with the I'm sure everybody's seen that graphic, and I think it was one of our competitors that used this as an ad, but it was the plumber protects the health of the nation,
Yeah.
and that's something that I think really moved to the forefront with the pandemic. Myself and all of my friends that are in the field, we stayed working, and what's interesting is Bradford White in the state of Michigan, we Michigan was pretty harsh about closing things down, and the auto manufacturers were mandated to close. Bradford White was allowed to stay open because we're considered critical infrastructure. And we're
Huh.
supplying water heaters to, there are military installations that can only use products made in the US, and we're the only ones that qualify for their standards. We were making heaters for pop-up hospitals in New York City. And so when you look at it through that lens, you could say, yeah, it was probably a nice advertising slogan, the plumber protects the health of the nation. But when we hit something very significant, when we hit something that really ground business as usual to a halt, the ones that stayed working were the plumbers, were the
Yeah.
HVAC technicians. And
Yeah.
it became true that, my wife is a nurse, and of course I would consider her a frontline worker. But what I tell anybody that I have the opportunity to spend some time with, whether it's training, whether it's on the tech support phones, is I would consider plumbers, I would consider HVAC technicians, any of the trades, I would consider those frontline worker positions. So I would encourage anybody that's looking for a great career to think about that seriously, because it's important work, it's critical work, and as of right now, it's pretty AI proof.
Yeah.
Amen.
I think it's
And
pretty awesome.
yeah,
It's a good reminder that people think of it, but they don't think of it as, I mean, how many, so a technician, a plumber, electrician, these kinds of people, right? And any home services type of person like that, um, they truly make people's lives better, right?
Yeah.
You go to someone's home because something isn't working, and you can fix it, and they
Yep.
can't fix it. So you kind of show up, you're the everyday hero, and it's really pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
um,
Chad's always been my hero.
Chad has, well, look, show them your muscles
Yeah.
again,
No,
Chad.
I'm not doing that again. I'm not doing that again. I don't know why I always fall for your crap either. I'm always like, okay, Troy, whatever you say, man.
All right. So one last plug for Bradford White, Spencer. Let's hear it.
Well, I've hit on most of the high level things. We make the product right here in Middleville, Michigan. We're very proud of our quality. We're employee owned. We everyone here in tech support is some flavor of a licensed contractor. So if you do get the opportunity to talk to us, you're talking to a like minded company that's wholesale only and for the professional. If you're looking for more information on any of the things that we offer, whether it's service literature, whether it's video content, whether it's finding a rep or a wholesaler in your market, you can visit bradfordwhite.com. We also have a dedicated for the pro only portal, and that's for the pro.bradfordwhite.com. So check us out, and don't be a stranger. You may find that I'm on the other end of the phone, or I'm on the other end of a training session. So don't be afraid to say hi if you see me.
There you go. All right.
Very
Very good.
cool.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Spencer. Thank
Spencer,
you.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Lot of
being
fun.
here.
A lot
Yeah,
of fun.
appreciate it.
All right.